Hi, it's Watch Curtis Code. I'm Curtis Pope, your host, and welcome to another edition of Watch Curtis Code, episode 5. So we've come a long way. I know it's been a while since my last episode, but I'm just like you guys. I'm a working stiff. I have a job, I have priorities, I have other things going on in my life, but I enjoy doing this, and so that's why I'm back with a new episode here. So this week's episode is inspired by a conversation that I had with two aspiring entrepreneurs this week. One of them asked me point blank, he said, well, I know you develop apps. What is the cost associated with building my particular app? And so we went through all the features and we talked about how much it would cost. And he was surprised at how little it actually costs to develop an app. But then again, we're talking about a very small app, kind of like a utility app. And then I had another conversation with another aspiring entrepreneur who approached me and said, well, I heard that there's money in apps, so I want to build an app. I have an idea, and he kind of pitched, what his idea was and whatnot. And, the idea was a pretty huge idea, and he was surprised by the amount of money and surprised by the amount of effort that it would take to develop it. It was kind of like using AI and some other things that, you have to kind of be all in on. So anyway, that was kind of the nucleus of this particular episode, and I wanted to kind of share how I go about, or a good way to go about estimating how much it will cost to develop an app, and of course, what those numbers look like when we're talking about selling our app on the App Store and actually generating revenue from what we've created. So this episode is a special edition episode. We won't be doing any code in this episode, but we will be going right into Excel and we're going to play with those numbers. And also keep in mind that in the show notes, there's actually going to be the link to this Google Sheet that I'm going to share and I'm going to show you guys in just a moment. So once again, I know it's been a while. I want to thank you guys for sticking in there and staying supportive. I mean, I do this because of you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. All right, so let's go ahead and hop right into, first, let's take a look at the App Store. First of all, here I have it up on my Mac. And what Apple's done is when we talk about, in this video, when we talk about Apple's feed, this is really what it comes down to. And what they are is kind of a silent marketing partner, meaning that they are the ones that can put your app in the right place, meaning the App Store. So they can show it, they can display it, you can even, now there's a way for you to get into the featured zone here, which is right here at the top. So all of these things can really enhance how many people download your app, how many people really enjoy it, and all that good stuff. So this is what you're really giving up a piece of that pie up for, but it's well worth it. So as you can see, they have different categories and different levels and all that stuff. And so let's go ahead and hop into our app economics spreadsheet here. And I use Google Sheets, and I'll share this in the show notes. But what I've done here is I've mapped out 4 different types of apps, like a game, a utility app like a calculator, a consumer app like food spotting, or I don't know what's the hot food app right now, Urban Spoon, I don't know, whatever. And then you have a social app like a Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And over here in this A column, what I've done is I have a few metrics that I'm mapping here. So I have the app price, I have the amount of apps sold, I have ad revenue from in-app purchases or just ads, and so I'm just putting a bottom line of the total app revenue. I'm also putting down as expenses my expenses for designers, developers, database admins, and I'm mapping my total labor here. And if I look at the total revenue, that's the labor or the app revenue minus the labor, and I get a total here. And then of course Apple has to take their cut of 30%. Sometimes I believe with the advertising is somewhere between 10 and 15. I'll have to look it up. I haven't done an ad app in a long time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about one particular one, and that's like a game. So games really have a high room for growth here. There's just a ton of revenue in it. However, one thing is that you need a ton of users in order to support your game, and for it to stay relevant, you need a certain amount to stay afloat. So let's take, for example, let's say you sold a game like Flappy Birds for $7.99, and you sold 100,000 units or 100,000, um, of those apps. And basically, let's say you're trying to monetize at least 10% of your users. So that's $79,900. Okay, so 799 times 100,000, of course, is 799,000. 10% of that is, of course, 79,900. So that's if each one of your 10% of users gave you $1. And so it basically brings your total of app revenue down to $878,900. So not bad, but look at your upfront costs. You're going to have to pay at least $10,000 to a designer, at least $15,000 to a developer, and at least $3,000 and maybe more for a database administrator. So these are your upfront costs, somewhere around $30,000. Now, if we look at that if we look at that in the scope of saying, okay, we know we're going to make close to $900,000, $28,000, not a real big, hit to the pocket if I have $30,000 and this is the plan to make close to $1 million. So you float that, or you raise enough money to make your game or your app here, and then you're still left with $850,900. Now you split that 10 ways. I mean, that's still pretty good salary, but that's actually before Apple takes their cut, and so they're going to take at least $255,270 right off the top. And those are for displaying your app in the App Store, doing all the things that Apple does to ensure that you can map your downloads, get your analytics, etc. And so you're still left with $595,630. So you're making roughly close to $600,000 off an initial $30,000 or $28,000 investment right off the top. So when we're talking about a utility app like let's say a calculator or something like that, the numbers are very much the same, except we're offering them at $0. We're offering the app at $0, which means we're going to need quite a bit of money in order to make our bottom line not be in the negative. So let's see how many users. So let's say we had 15,000 apps sold. Well, those numbers don't really add out to anything positive because we're still $4,600 in the hole. So let's see what numbers we need to break even. So let's try 150,000 downloads. And 10% of those are going to be monetized, meaning we can sell them something or offer or upcharge something for $1. You're still looking all right. And if you're a one-man show, you can get away with $8,900 for your version 1 of your app. And this could be per month. This can be whatever. However we massage these numbers, we have to figure out what is that over time, right? So we're going to use time and money to our advantage. Let's say we have a very popular calculator app, and let's say it hits 1.5 million downloads. Still looking pretty good. In fact, we can make about $143,000 if we monetize 10% of those users. So if we have 1.5, that means we at least have to monetize 150,000 people, meaning we have to get 150,000 of our users to give us $1 in order for us to make a pretty good penny off of that. Now, this number split 10 ways, not a ton of money. I mean, we're talking about roughly $13,000 a piece. Let's say you have a team of 10. There's not a ton of money in that. So, the higher this number is, the amount of apps sold, the more you can monetize, which means all your other numbers are gonna, boost up, of course. So let's say we had 20 million. Okay, now we're talking. We can make at least $2 million or close to $2 million off of just having 20 million downloads. So this is kind of an example of what the economics look like. And as always, if you guys really want to play around with this, I encourage you to just play around with this and see what you like. And all these things will help you to get an idea of when you build your app, what the real numbers are going to look like over time. All right, so you've had a chance to look at the numbers and to kind of play with those numbers. I encourage you guys all to go ahead and download the Google Sheet that I've shared below and play with it. Look at the estimate that it's going to cost to build your app out and categorize it appropriately. Because oftentimes you'll know, based on what a developer will tell you, whether it's feasible for your budget and what the long-term plan is after you've spent a lot of cash, and of course after Apple has taken their cut as well. So keep those things in mind, and of course, as always, enjoy your time. And as always, please tell a friend. If you like what you're learning here and you're encouraged or motivated by it, of course, leave comments below, and also tell a friend. Tweet it, Facebook, share it. Do what you must. Get the word out. Let your friends know what exactly you're learning here and all the valuable things that you're taking away from it. Until next time, I'm Curtis Pope, and this is Watch Curtis Code.